Right here, we have the record holder for 10R80 Supercharged. This is Carlos Vera's car. This thing's sick. So this just recently shattered the 10R80 Supercharged record.
Yeah, one pulley size higher. That was the 3.0 pulley, so we ran an 811 at 171. The previous record was, for overall supercharger record, used to be 844, and we ran an 8572, and then somebody beat us and ran the 844, and that was on the Edelbrock. So we took the car down. Whipple got on board. They sent us a really bad blower to really show what a Gen 5 3 liters capable of. We got that in, new motor, rebuilt the trans, got a cage in the car, really got the car like prepped and ready to try to run a 7. So second pass off the trailer after the initial build, we ran an 848. The third pass we ran an 840. On a 3.5 pulley with a 20% lower on the crank. So that retook it, and then we brought the car back and we wanted to save it for FL. There was a tire shortage going on, so we didn't want to waste the tire doing a lot of testing or anything like that. So we saved the car for FL. In that time, somebody else from the Whipple crew managed to run an 8.3 something, so they took the record back. So at FL2K, come off, put the 325 pulley on it, run a mid 8.3, wasn't able to break it, and then we ran the 3.0 on it, and we got down to an 8.2, and then the 8.11, and then we put the 275 pulley on it and went to go for 7s. But the track wasn't there on that hit, and then it rained out the rest of the day, so we kind of lost our chance there. Yeah. But it's doing the same thing that most of our record cars do, which is comes off the trailer, runs a new personal best, and then every pass we just tick it down little by little by little and chip away at it, and it gets faster and faster. And that most recent pass was in the heat, the humidity, and everything that we've done with this car has been in the Florida heat. We have had some good weather with the Edelbrock, had really good weather. I think that was at Mod Nats that it ran that, or that might have been here. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. It was last year. But pretty much everything with the Roush was in Florida heat. Everything with the Whipple's been Florida heat. But that intercooler on the Cobra Jet lid is doing insane. So it's pretty much 70, 75 degrees at the top end of the track using the ice tank, which is unheard of for blower stuff, and that's one of the greatest things that I love about this blower. Is great, it makes a ton of power, but it keeps it cool, you know, when you need it to, and that's usually always the failings of blowers, is they can't keep them cool enough. Exactly. So this thing is working great, and they're working on some even better cooling intercooler stuff for these things, so I can't wait for that stuff to come out. But yeah, so holding true. She is not even, I would say that we're probably about 50% dialed in. So we still have a little bit more dialing in on the suspension. We still have some more dialing in with, like, we've been foot brake launching it. So we haven't even tried to get remotely consistent with that, because we were in the middle of racing and trying to qualifying. So it's just kind of like, let's get it close and then we'll start dialing in. So there's still a lot. our 60 foot was 124.
That's
so
moving though.
That's moving, but it could be a 1-1 something.
Yep.
So, you know, and that'll get us in the 7s just like that.
Yep.
She did good. She did her job. So, and she didn't break, which is the best part.
Yep.
You know, take a month putting a car together and you hope that everything goes well, and then it goes down the track and it just keeps going down the track, and the only thing we got to do is just put pulleys on it and fuel in it. So,
that's it.
So let's go ahead and take a look under the hood. I'm sure you're all dying for that.
Yep. So Ken drove it. Palm Beach Auto Tune, Rare Fab built. Big old Whipple in there.
Yep, so it's got the Cobra Jet lid, which you end up getting a little bit of a spacer here, and they're able to fit a larger core in there.
These lines are huge.
Yeah, so they're dash 16. That is one thing that I really wanted to focus on, making sure was good on the car, you know, especially with trying to pump out this much power out of a supercharger setup, is that we needed to make sure the cooling was there. So I was not going to get a blower that had massively large lines on it and then have an intercooler tank that has massively large lines on it and then step them down to something like 1-incher like that. And then Carlos wanted everything to be as beautiful as possible, so we went the expensive route, did all dash 16 AN lines. We ended up having to build, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it because it's under the, you can kind of see it down there, it's behind the fender liner, but we had to build a custom little, had to fabricate a little Y block because this is a single feed and single return, but the blower on the inlets, the 2 outer cores get the water first. So these are cold, and this is a really good part on why this blower works so well. So the air comes in from the bottom, it gets heated by the rotors, and it comes up through the center core first, and then the air gets initially cooled, and then it goes through the outer cores and goes into the runners. Now the really cool thing with that is that the initial heat created by the supercharger is being taken up by water that has already been partially warmed. So that brings the two temperature differentials closer together and makes it a little bit more effective. What that also does is that the already used water that's returning through this core takes the initial hit. So that leaves, that brings that initial extra hotness of the boost temps down, and then that air flows across the second core, which is fresh water. So as cold as it could possibly be. So you've already cooled the air on the first pass with the used water, and now that air is going through the cooler that's fresh water, that's ice cold, and that's what makes the temps down so low. So it's not just the size of the core, it's how they're running the water through it and the direction that they're running it through it that makes a big difference. That's a big thing in factory systems. The way that they run the water through the system pretty much promotes melting ice really fast. So when you do it this way, the ice will stay colder longer and the blower will work better.
Right.
So it's basically like a 2-to-1 dual pass setup, except they're actually, the dual pass is one initial hit and then 2 secondary hits, which works out really well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and then it's an RPG engine, basically all out, firing, sleeve, everything you could possibly think about it. That's what it's got there.
And you guys built the 10R80, right?
Yep. So we built the 10R80. We use this car particularly has the McLeod Stage 1 clutches, just because this is more than acceptable for this power level, and it's a good showing of what a good build and a good tune can do with like Stage 1s. In CJ's car we have Stage 1s as well, but that obviously they can't handle the amount of power that's going with that, so we're going to experiment with Stage 2s and then some other things with that. So once we get his tranny figured out, we'll probably do the same thing to this, even though it's not making as much power and it's not really needing it. Honestly, I don't want to take it apart. It's working great. So
yep, exactly.
So why fix it if it's not broken and if it's not slipping and it's doing good? But yeah, we've been able to squeeze a ton of power out of these. The 10R80s they're not complicated to put together. They're not complicated to build because really the only thing that's available on the market is clutches. So it's not like you're having to deal with different billet parts matching. Like the 6R80s are way more complex to deal with when you're trying to mix match different billet parts and stuff like that. So these are a lot easier to deal with, but there is a lot of finesse that goes into actually filling them with fluid, and that initial installation, the initial adaptation reset, and all the small details of taking your time with getting it together is all crucial to not frying the clutches right off the bat or putting a bunch of material into the system that makes the valve body mess up. So the real care with them is the installation side of it, and that's where the magic happens.
Heck yeah, man. I can't wait to see it go 7s.
Yeah, me either. So the car's not even that light. I think the math was with full tank and driver, it was 3630 or 3660.
Yeah, that's still heavy in the world of racing.
Yeah, so the car's 3,500 pounds without driver, but that doesn't count. Like, we talk real world weight. So what is it when it goes down the track? Not what is it when there's no fluid or anything in it. So we just have the Vera brakes in the front. We have stocks in the rear. We got Viking shocks front and rear with Kel-Track settings in them. Kelly has been on point with the settings, like right off the shelf. We had to make a couple adjustments the first hit because we didn't have the front shocks the first time when we had the other blower on it. But this time we had them, so the car was acting completely different on that first time out to the track. So we had to make a couple adjustments in the front, a couple adjustments in the rear, but pretty much by 2 hits we had it down so that we were able to run that 840.
Nice.
And then we really didn't have to touch anything at FL2K. The track prep was, when it was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was bad. But she hooked, wrinkled, you know, she did her job. So, but there is still more that we can do. We're gonna tweak a little bit more in the rear end, try to get a little bit more positive camber so that we can be closer to 0 on the hit, but we gotta watch out for the tire and the fender contact.
Yep.
So it's a game of finesse now, trying to dial it in.
For sure.
So obviously we have the giant cowl hood that nobody can see out of. We got a gauge in here, one Kirkley seat.
Yep.
We do have interior race carpet for it, so that's going to go back in. All the panels are going to go back in before it goes back to that track. So at least on the inside, it'll look like a not so much race car.
Yep.
So in the back, just got the ice tank with the EMP pump here, and then you can see the lines. Everything's nice and neat. We take very particular care with how everything's presented, whether you can see it or not. So like how we set all of these lines and wires up, we try to make everything flow, look nice. All of our systems are all built identical, so every single car that's one of ours, unless there's something in the way. We have had customers that come in and they have like custom speaker setups in the back, and I can't run the power for the connector back here, so on like individual cars like that we'll do something different. But pretty much everything we do the same to keep quality control, you know, under wraps, and make sure that we have a good consistent product for our customers that's easy to service. So for your average guy that isn't racing all the time, but he still swaps his tune every once in a while, with these 4 systems, if you try to swap your tune with the fuel pumps running, you'll probably kill the battery if you don't have a charger on it, so you need to disconnect it. So a lot of shops end up hiding this thing, but we put it back here in the trunk and make sure it's always mounted back here, so we can always add an ice tank in the future. But you can just disconnect this connector right here, which is easy to grab, kills the fuel system, you load your tune, pop it back in, and then you drive. But on the cars that are race cars, we set up switches for everything on the dash, so you don't have to get out of the driver's seat to do anything. We'll put the ABS on a switch, we'll put the fuel pump on the switch, intercooler on the switch, basically everything that we need up there, so you can just sit there, click, 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 turn everything off, play with your laptop, load your tune, do whatever you want to do, click everything back on, and then make your pass. So you have your street car serviceability, then you have your race car serviceability.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is a nasty track monster that you can still drive it to the grocery store.
That's awesome. Yep.
It's probably gonna piss off a couple of grandmas, but you can still drive it to the grocery store.
Yep. Yeah, I'm excited to see it go 7s. It's coming soon, probably, right?
Yeah, we're just waiting for a tractor rental to open up. We're hoping that we'll get a little bit better weather in a little bit, so it'll make it a little bit easier on us. But if we have to power through the Florida weather, we will. You know, we're not relying on We're not relying on that 60-degree weather to make this happen, which is the phenomenal part of this.
Yeah.
Like, all of our cars right now are running great, and they're doing it in this humidity and this heat. Like, we have one hand tied behind our back trying to do this stuff. But that's Florida. We get to run all year round, but it's always hot, so.
Seriously.
Yeah. So if people want to see more of this car, we can go over to Rare Fab's YouTube channel, right? Yours?
Yep. So
as well as Ken's.
Actually don't have this car on there yet. I'm in the middle of having a video made for it. We're kind of holding off until it gets to 7, then we'll release a whole car overview and everything like that, and try to wait till we get that 7 so I don't have to make a video twice.
Yeah,
I really don't have a whole
exactly.
lot of time to myself. But yeah, if you go to YouTube /RareFab, you'll be able to see our videos. We do have a little bit of stuff there that are pretty cool. Have a lot of stuff with the 2020 GT500s, like doing first oil changes on a track pack.
I watched your video on doing the pulley.
Yeah,
the pulley on it.
The pulley, supercharger install, like port comparison, like really in-depth stuff showing like all the effort that we go through to do these kinds of builds. And basically, because not everybody gets to see what happens to their car, and you know, see how it's treated and how it's taken care of while we're working on it, because care is the #1 thing. So quality, care, and then customers being happy.
Yeah.
We try our best to make sure that all 3 of those happen.
For sure.
So, but pretty much everybody leaves here with a smile.
Heck yeah, of course. Get more horsepower, go faster.
Exactly.
Yeah.